Hello and welcome to Dance Bants. I'm your host, and who am I? Mr. G. Oops! And today I'm here with Alex Mencinsky. Alex grew up dancing in the Sydney Eisteddfod scene and continued his training in contemporary dance at Sydney Dance Company's pre-professional year. He seconded for dance companies in Amsterdam, France and Israel, but has since moved on to study advertising and PR at uni. Alex is a dear friend of mine, and I think he has one of the most important stories to tell out of anyone I know. So please welcome Alex Mencinsky.
Hello, everybody. Hello. How
Hello,
are you?
I'm good.
Loving that I'm here.
Where are we?
So I think we're sipping wine in a vineyard.
Great. What's your bleep?
Let's do a dun dun. You know, like Law and Order.
Alex, what do you reckon?
I reckon this show is the real deal, and I think you need a few more followers.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I've watched every episode and I'm hooked, and I
great.
can't wait for it to blow up.
Thanks, Alex. No, I think it never will. What I'm excited for is the day where I still have 300 followers, but I also have 300 episodes. Have you ever shat yourself?
No, I have not.
Great. And 3, are you afraid of dying?
No, I don't reckon.
Awesome. Really simple, clean and simple.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't even think we need to play any games. There's no battle today of the biscuits. Do you want to play yeah, nah?
I think we should. I think it's kind of a ritual, and I'm
okay,
just
great. Yeah, nah. So have you ever stolen something?
Yeah.
Can you speak another language?
No.
Do you sing?
Nah.
Do you have an enemy?
I'd say I've got enemy-ish people. Yes.
Do you play an instrument?
No.
Do you want to be famous?
Nah.
Ballet or jazz?
Oh, ballet.
Wiggles or high five?
High five.
Big show or intimate informal showing?
Oh, intimate informal showing.
Splendor on the grass or carols in the domain?
I'm going to say carols in the domain.
Nice. Yes.
I'm going to be that.
Yeah or nah?
Yeah.
Where do we begin? I think basically your whole episode is a dance rant. But
I think it is. I think there's a lot to say.
So firstly, fill the people in on who you are.
Well, I bring something different, you know. I'm not I'm not really a dancer anymore, I would say. I went to performing arts high school, and then I did 2 years of full time at the same place. And then I traveled to Europe for dance. I did contemporary dance. And then I did a few gigs here and there. And then now I live the boring life of uni and work.
And you work like at a desk kind of, right?
I do that job. That one that everyone's like, I don't want to end up being at the desk. That's what I do, and I low-key like it. I love it. I've done the rounds, like I did the Europe extravaganza. I did a gig with David Jones. That'd probably be my claim to fame. As sad as that is. Yeah. And then I kind of called it quits.
Why did you call it quits?
It's an interesting question. And every time somebody asks me that, I say, it's a long story. And then I feel like now is the time that we can share those stories. I just realized that there was a bit more to life than putting on the ballet shoes.
Yeah. You're an insane dancer, by the way. And I feel like you got really good towards the end of your career.
The way I see it as well, right, is that when I finished, I was the best dancer. I was kind of really happy at where, even though I hadn't, you know, my dream was to be in a company, and I never got there, but I think the dancer that I was towards the end, I was really happy with that. And I thought, we're going to get into the stories of like how I actually came to make this decision, because it wasn't just something that happened. Like a lot of stuff happened along the way. Yeah, I think I realized that I'd gone to a few auditions and I'd seen these people that had like, you know, in their 30s or late 20s that were still trying, like still doing the audition rounds. And I just thought like, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think that's their best self.
Right.
And I feel like at the end I was my best self, and I'm kind of happy to leave it at where I was, knowing that I had done everything I'd wanted to do besides join a company. And then I realized that actually isn't what I want when I did experience
that was the exact. I had the same thing.
We're kind of trained in a way that we're already in a dance company. Like, if I think back to full time, that was pretty much being in a company.
Even high school.
Yeah, it was literally called company.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're kind of conditioned to know what it's going to be like before you even get there.
Here we go.
Okay, so from the start, we're going to talk about something, I guess, that it hasn't really been spoken about a whole lot. Because I think talking about this as well, even though it was the very start, it's where it all went wrong.
Yeah.
And then like everything from that kind of brought me to where I am now.
Yeah.
So I, along with many other dancers in Sydney, went to a very well-renowned dance studio. I'm not going to name the studio, but some things went down and it ended up having to be closed, or I guess you can say legal reasons.
Yeah.
Can we put it that way?
Yeah. I also attended this school for
Yes,
a few years, not in the same commitment level as you did. I was there on a more recreational basis.
Yeah, but
So
I wish I was there on a
witness.
recreational basis.
I was kind of a fly on the wall.
I think if you're in the Sydney dance scene, you definitely know, what we're talking about here. And I'm not going to talk about the stuff that went down, but I just want to talk about my experience as a dancer there and then how that kind of shaped the rest of my career as a dancer. Yeah, it's not a secret like this. It's something that everyone...
Yeah, it was very out in the public.
Everyone has their own opinion on it.
And it very swiftly and quietly got forgotten about.
Yeah.
Which is understandable in the heat of the years that it happened for everyone, in our circles, they just didn't want to talk about it. But I think if it had happened in the age of social media now, oh my God.
If this were all to go down now, I think it would be very different. I was not directly involved with the things that went down and the things that led to the closure of the studio. So I'm definitely not going to, talk about that or, say that I've got a big opinion on that, because I was not directly involved, and I don't want to offend anybody at all. I did a lot of my dance training there, and I kind of grew up as a dancer there. And what I can kind of explain though is the environment, and what it was like, what it felt like to be there.
Yeah.
Because that's a big
thing.
I
even felt
what that was. Think anybody would agree with the things that I'm going to say, because I think we were all feeling the exact same way, and you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that disagrees
or would defend.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so the environment was extremely competitive, for one. And I mean, that's pretty obvious from the social media as well. The kind of era that they had. No one can deny that the dancing was amazing. Absolutely amazing for the time. Yeah, I guess it kind of backfired on them in a way, because they built such a profile, and then that profile got, very damaged.
So the environment was creating this level of excellence through purely fear. There was no fun. It was not really designed to be fun. I mean, people had fun, I know,
that's the thing, right? Because what you just said is pretty much sums up the whole thing. There was a lot of fear. And I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody, but I know that there was a lot of fear. I felt a lot of fear, and the people that I was closest to there felt the exact same way. At the same time, I don't regret going there for a minute. Best friends I had there are still my best friends today. Training was very versatile. You learnt ballet, jazz, acro.
You even did a bit of
conditioning, a bit of improv, yeah. And the strength and flexibility training was,
off chops.
Off chops.
They were so a cut above the rest that they had the power to hold you where you are and threaten you pretty much.
Yeah. 100%. I think that's so true. And I think that's what is so different about today's dancers too. Mind you, people would travel to this studio. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't even, I mean,
Yeah.
these days it's very much just your local studio is where you'll go to, because the studios nowadays are very good. Back then there was only kind of a handful top studios that did the competitions and that had the
Yeah.
technique training and the ballet. And
It was that like parenting system of punishment over reward. Like you didn't get praise for doing something good. It was more like you feared getting in trouble, and that's how you got good.
for me especially, the reason why I did improve so much when I was there is because I was scared. As sad as that sounds, like I don't necessarily see that as a huge negative. Hearing that, a lot of people would say, well, that doesn't sound like it was a very nice environment to be in, especially at a young age. But the way I see it is what you were saying before, that now it's very much the students and the parents decide how the studio runs, or they have a lot more say, because they can just say, if you don't give me what I'm after, I'm just going to go somewhere else. That was not the case at this studio, because the two people running the studio were very much in charge, and you kind of do anything to make them happy. Let's pose a hypothetical, right? You were choreographing a piece for a competition on a competition team at a studio. Your piece did not place, so you got nothing. In our days, when I was, growing up as a dancer, that was always our fault, the dancer's fault, the student's fault. You didn't dance well enough. But now that's the teacher's fault. That's the choreography. It never goes on to the students. And it's hard to say which one is better, because
it is hard to say from a teacher's perspective. That's quite daunting. But I think it probably sounds like the latter is the more appropriate. But as a kid back then, like you wouldn't even think of that as an option. I never did. Not until I was a teacher. If we ever lost, it was my fault.
You don't want to put blame onto kids, right?
Yeah.
Like you never want to make them feel like it's their fault for not winning. What are we getting at here?
Yeah, what are we getting at? So how do you think that affected you today? Like what is it that you carry?
Yeah. Well, I guess the other thing is, like, along with, having fear, I think the huge thing that I always felt was judgment. Like, just constant judgment. There was always eyes on you. It's even hard to tell whether it was in your best interest or their best interest for winning competitions and getting more followers on Instagram and Facebook. It was just constant judgment. And I think that's what I took with me throughout dancing. And I just, like, everywhere I went, I just couldn't get that out of my head, that everyone was judging, teachers, other students, guest choreographers. It gets very overwhelming, and then you kind of lose sight of yourself, because you're just so wrapped up in everyone else's judgment, because you don't even know what you're trying to achieve anymore, because you're just so worried about other people's perceptions. Yeah.
This is such a tenet of classical training and the classical company world that still exists. It's such a key principle in their ability to manipulate dancers. You're going to get in trouble if you do something wrong and if you aren't respectful of the teacher, which is like a fair enough set of principles. But then this gets twisted to a point where, as you get older and once you're our age and you're in a company, they use that against you to manipulate you so they can pay you less. So you're completely disposable. Someone else is going to come along who does a better job than you, and you always have that in the back of your mind that you need to do everything perfectly. If you make a mistake, if you have a day off. And this is where it leads to like abuse.
Yeah.
And that is such an enormous common topic in the company world.
Yeah.
But we all know about it. Like how many directors of these companies have people come out against, and they're still in direction. That's
it right there. That whole thing about being disposable, being replaceable, they harp on that constantly. Every day you feel like you're being compared to somebody else. You get to a point where you just like, what is that? Like, how is that helping you in any way, your mental state, by constantly being compared to other people? And it isn't even, sometimes they're actually not doing that. And that's what I found when I was doing full-time, because where I did my full-time training was probably the, you know, the best training I had ever had. I don't really have anything bad to say about that particular place because I loved it. But, you know, they weren't necessarily judging and comparing, but I couldn't get that out of my head that they, you know, like even if maybe they were, I don't know. You just, you're so conditioned to believe that they are, that you can't get it out of your head. Because a lot of the time you're actually, I guess everyone is replaceable in many ways, but especially for contemporary dance, I don't really believe that that's the case a lot of the time. Like contemporary, you're constantly trying to be unique and have your own style. And
and it's weird how those two mindsets coincide. We're creating art and we're making something that the general public is going to enjoy, and we're entertainers, but at the same time it's running off this world of fear that the public have no idea is going on. They think like any regular person from the general public would think, oh, they have fun all day and they run around on their toes. We exist in like the worst position possible because the public thinks of us. Yeah. And at the same time, we're receiving a level of intense training and pain.
For most people that just sit there eating Maltesers, not really paying attention.
And we take it, dude.
And we take it. But we really shouldn't have to.
And this is what like Emily Seymour was talking about, right?
Yeah.
The more people hide in fear of that whole side of it, the more you're creating like a generational issue. Yeah. Because you're just passing it on to the next people that have to suffer it. Yeah. But there's so many more dancers than there are directors. There's so many more students than there are teachers. We should not be living in a world like that anymore.
I know. No, 100%. That's the most important lesson that you need to realize as a dancer, is that people can tell you that you're replaceable and you're disposable. They can tell you that every day. And it's your choice whether you want to believe that or not, because I don't believe that you are. I don't believe that they're going to find someone that's exactly like you, because they're not going to. With all these different... What am I saying?
No. What we've just discussed about the competitiveness of the studios, which is actually changing, and whether it's for good or bad, I don't know, but it's changing the culture of the student and teacher, what would you call, what's that called? Like hierarchy.
Yeah. No, and you know what? That's what it is. That's how it's affected me throughout life. I think any person that's in authority now, I think I do struggle with.
I'm the same. I'm exactly the same. But that being said, you could take what's happening at the studios now as a model for what could happen in the companies if there were more companies.
Companies would have to change to adjust to that. Yeah. Because if there's more companies, then there are more opportunities for you to turn around and say, well, if you're not treating me the way I should be treated, then I'm going to go somewhere else. Yeah. And they're going to take me. Yeah. But now, if you're being treated well, then you can either choose to suck it up or quit. And that's the reality of it.
That's it. Culture of fear, man. That's the culture of fear.
That's my biggest point, and the kind of thing that, because you know when you when you dance all your life, and that's like, that kind of becomes your identity. You see people from your past or family, friends, and they're like, oh, are you still dancing? Like, yes, come on, everyone gets that question. It's the first question. Oh, how's your dancing going? It's like I just dread it, because every time I see someone, I'm like, here we go. Now I have to explain myself 1,000 times. Yeah. I believe that it is braver to change something that is not working for you than to persevere in a situation that is making you unhappy.
Oh, it's such a shame you're not dancing anymore.
Oh, that one. But it's not a shame. I don't think that that's true. When I first started moving on and doing other things, you know, I felt really bad about myself. I was like, oh, look, I've spent pretty much the majority of my life doing this one thing, and then I don't even know who I am anymore. And you know, there's such a shame in quitting and giving up. And that's for everything, for any sport or anything that you've done. You have to realize, what is it that you're giving up? Are you giving up dance? No, I love dance. Dance is like, I think, the most beautiful thing in the world. I gave up the trauma and the And
Yeah.
the feeling about myself. That's what I gave up. I didn't give up dance. Dance is still a huge part of my life. It doesn't have to be your everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing. Everyone's different. Not everyone does feel that way, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure people come from backgrounds where it isn't as traumatic for them, and that they have dealt with their issues, and they know how to manage themselves. They're confident and they're secure in themselves, that they don't have that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's people who are made for that.
And
environment,
that's incredible.
sure.
And I had to ask me a few years ago, and I wish I was that, but I'm not. And you know, I experienced things that I think led me to a lot of insecurity and issues with confidence. And you can think, like, you can look at it as that's a sad thing, but I don't think it is. We need to stop shaming people for quitting or for giving up, because I don't think that I gave up dance.
Yeah.
I know that sounds so funny to say, because obviously I did, but
yeah,
but
you could still dance.
I think I was thinking the other day, like, if somebody came up to me and was like, hey, there's a spot in a company, you can have it right now, I think I would honestly say no, I don't want that. And I could probably still dance, or even though I haven't danced in a while, I could probably just, you know, spend a few weeks really like drilling that technique back in and getting myself back to that level. But I just don't think I want that anymore. I think as soon as you step out, you see things from a different perspective. You just realize how much more there is to life than dancing. And it's amazing. There's so much out there. I think that's it. Yeah.
Thanks, Alex, for coming in today and sharing with all of us.
We'll just finish it with, you do you.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Bye.